Mr. Diplo.
Paulo. Doctor who reads at a 5th grade level.
DiPaolo. Is that Sicilian?
No, it's not Sicilian. It's Italian.
Interesting. Mr. DiPaolo, I would like to conduct today for you a Rorschach test. Please tell me what you see when you look at this photograph.
That's a vagina.
Interesting. What do you see when you look at this photograph?
That's the same vagina.
Interesting. I would like to try for my one final test, examining this photograph.
That's the same vagina. What are we doing here?
Mr. DiPaolo, it is my formal diagnosis that you are in fact obsessed with vaginas.
I'm obsessed. You're the one showing me pictures of your wife's box.
The joke's on you, are not married. This is a picture of a box from a hobo who I found in East Germany. She was forced to sell her body to feed her family. She now lives in the gutter along with the crabs and silt.
And you said she sold her box to mean her vagina or the cardboard box?
Mr. DiPaolo,
Yes,
I don't know why you ask me questions to which you already know the answer. Is this a defense mechanism you find yourself using frequently?
Absolutely. It's worked out well. I made almost $1,800 doing Comedy Lash.
And he saw this as a measure for success. The $1,800 for 1,800 times he had sold a portion of his soul, which he will never yield back. Did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did, Doctor.
Click Rumble Premium and join now for $99 annually or $9.99 a month to get the entirely ad-free experience and an ever-expanding roster of content, creators, and free speech. No one knows how this one's going to go today. When I was walking in, I saw Elaine the Brain in front of a computer just yelling, "No, no, 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 no!" So, I don't know what's gone wrong.
We'll find out.
But we'll find out. Enjoy the show. There's a lot that has been going on where it's kind of a grab bag today. A border bill passed almost unanimously. I believe 402 to 1 yesterday. Take a guess who the one is. Comment below. Take a guess, but don't cheat. If you're watching this in the archive, just pause and then guess. We're going to get into, we have a Hollywood Minute, but this is about celebrity podcasts. We have Anthony Mackie. We have Michelle Obama. We have, who else? Oh, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
We have Snow White, what's going on with Disney. I am convinced that this is a money laundering scheme for politicians. And comment if you think Gerald disagrees with me.
No, you make
I
a good
think
case.
the rule should be that no one who is in elected office should be able to have sponsors on a podcast or should be able to have guests who are seeking a position of influence. They can have a conversation with people, but we all know, right, how many politicians offer quid pro quo if we have them on our show? Imagine if you're a governor, right? And it's a really easy way to just have a sponsor come in and pay, oh yeah, we're paying Michelle Obama $1 million an ad, even though there's only 25 people who watch it. Just like speaking.
USAID's out, podcasts and mattress firms are in.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We're going to be sponsoring a lesbian funk podcast in Serbia, and it'll cost us $18 billion. You see my point? See, Noodles gets it. And we also have a Hardly Legal with my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, later on. I know you guys love him. He's going to be back to give us a little bit of a wrap-up. And if at some point today you see this, which I guarantee you will, why are you watching on YouTube? Head on over to Rumble. It's a live show, weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, and we do have a major announcement. This Friday, we will be streaming wide. This Friday, the 14th, I believe, at 11:30.
11:30.
11:30 Eastern.
Watch Dan's show prior. And
Dan's last
jump on
show.
I will say it involves death.
Death?
What legal questions on your mind? Comment below. We'll have them for my half-Asian lawyer a little bit later on. Gerald Captain Morgan and funniest man alive, Nick DiPaolo, is here. Co-host Music Hall Friday. Admonish me because I need it. Admonish me because I deserve it.
Do it. He wants it.
Friday.
Give him what he wants.
Friday,
Admonish.
April 25th. All right. Doing well, Nick?
Oh, God.
I have no idea what we are running head first into. We went to run
I
through
do.
it. I guess
Real
a whole-
shitstorm.
a whole bunch has changed. It seems like it. Here's one. We wanted to have dubbing of this, but we can't. So for people listening on audio, go watch this. This is a viral video that tells a sad story of fading love. And I guess it's sort of just captivating the internet as a whole. But, fading love happens and it's sad.
Yeah.
That's why you have to work at it. But the reason for this fading love, I don't want to lead the witness, I think it's probably not for the reasons that the poster had likely intended for you to interpret. See if you can catch what I mean.
But I promise you this. Please look out.
Pause. He stopped hugging me back. That's because he couldn't get his arms around you. Look at it. He stopped hugging me back. Well, yeah, because you're 9 sizes away from the wedding dress. Continue.
Can't reach your back.
He literally leans away from me in pictures. Okay. Seeing the picture of when they got married, I guess I understand it more. He leans away from me in pictures. Now, he can't get around you. He can't get close to you. I mean, you can't put the stools that close together. That's just, and I don't know what caused this. Might I direct you to the aisle that has the ring dings in the local Piggly Wiggly? Like, I get, and people will say this is wrong and it's I don't care. Look, it's one of those things. You need to maintain yourselves out of respect for each other.
be fair,
that's a real thing.
She was sitting there just watching for 8 months.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Father walked her down the fucking ding-dong aisle to give her away at the wedding.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't they didn't take a bite of the wedding cake. They each had custom eclairs.
She also looks like she got way more liberal, like in some of the things she did. I'm just inferring here.
The short hair,
really.
Who is it?
piercings,
Did I know?
the tattoos. No one knows.
No.
But it's just like, I don't know why the love faded. Why is it always just one of those? Because there's another way to blame.
He looks miserable.
He looks miserable.
Take a few guesses.
Yes, he does.
I'm not saying he's a saint, but you look like a different person.
Let me ask you, don't you think that's part of it? I mean, it used to be, right? People make fun of their grandma, like, well, you should always be within 2 sizes of your wedding dress. Oh, shut up, Grandma. And she was getting banged more at 95 than you are now because she understood the lay of the land.
And if she dies, it's not as much of a tragedy.
It's not as much of a tragedy.
Got to be rough on the
95.
tips at 95.
Well, it's gonna when the coroner's
No,
gonna
she's
take
got the
it's gonna take
replacements.
3
It's
hours
fine.
to wipe the smile off her face.
That's right. Yeah. She went out happy.
It's this idea now that love just happens, and if it fades, it just fades. No, we understand that you have to work at it.
Right.
And part of that is men are visual creatures. It's within striking. People get sick.
But I
People
hate
gain
that
weight.
when they say that. You got to work at it. I already got a fucking job. All right? You work at it.
Well, imagine this guy. He has to moonlight as a caterer.
It's true.
Hope your next husband's Jersey Mike. Let's grab this next story here. Oh, okay. This one is fun. This border bill. So this happened, I guess, on Monday. The House passed H.R. 495, and it's a bill that basically forces Customs and Border Protection, the agency, to take action on, because we've now found out this is a problem, on secret tunnels that exist under our border, and it was voted upon unanimously except for one holdout.
Yeas are 402, the nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
And I'll get to the holdout. I'm sure you can guess. I'm sure pick 4 names in your head. Yes, it's one of those.
Yeah.
But after the vote, the author, Representative Eli Crane from Arizona, he wrote on X, he said, I thought for sure everyone was going to vote yes on my bill this evening. 402-1 is still pretty solid, though.
I like this guy just for that.
That's still pretty good, I guess. And it's like, yeah, but who was Rashida Tlaib? It was Rashida Tlaib.
Oh, my God. That was that hairy bitch. Unbelievable. Because I'm thinking tunnels, Gaza, Palestinians. She's all for tunnels.
I thought maybe we were
Like
talking
that?
about some other member of the squad. But yes, that's your guess. And now it seems like, Crockett is just, I mean, she's outdoing them all.
She definitely is trying to out-squad the squad.
She walked in and said, hold my Colt 45.
From her privileged private school background.
How does somebody like that, look what we went from the John Adams and George Washingtons to Betty
Yes,
Crockett.
Well, there's quite a bit in between, but yes, that is a very valuable contrast.
Well, I'm
Imagine
just saying,
Adams to Crockett.
Yeah, we've been devolving to that. It's a street hooker.
Just imagine that at a meeting, like, well, I believe that we should discuss. It's like, bitch, you wearing funny hat and shit.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
wrong.
What? Aren't you a Rhodes Scholar? She went to Harvard, something like that. So Rashida Tlaib is the holdout. Now, people can have disagreeing points of view, right? We can find some differences, discuss them, but there's a reason that this was, and this almost never happens unanimous except for one person, and you have to ask why. We are dealing with tunnels under our border. At this point, we're not discussing dreamers. We're not discussing anchor babies. We are discussing what is clearly a national security threat. There's really no other purpose outside of circumventing our national security. In case you don't know, Rashida Tlaib is an awful human being. Let's just go through some greatest hits. 2016, remember interrupting a Trump campaign in Detroit?
I will say that the Bernie Sanders people
You guys are crazy!
You're an animal. Shut up, bitch. Get a job.
Don't you love how she only jumps once the guy grabs her?
Yeah.
She's like walking backwards, and then when he touches her, she jumps up.
Showing off her big flabby tits. That's what that
Ew.
I'm not kidding you. That's what that was about.
I know. Ew.
20. You're both saying the same thing.
I know.
Damn it, boys, the fight's out there. All right.
I'm not fighting. I love
2019. This one's going to get Nick mad. 2019. She said she was going to go after President Trump and impeach the MFer.
I remember it. Yeah.
And when your son looks at you and says, Mama, look, you won. Bullies don't win. And I said, baby, they don't. Because we're going to go in there, we're going to impeach the mother.
Huh?
That must be good.
And by the way, she was even censured by the House for directly anti-Semitic rhetoric.
Well,
Come on, it shouldn't. You're surprised that someone named Rashida
Tlaib
hates the Jews?
Tlaib.
Is she? What is she? A senator or a congresswoman? What a congresswoman, right?
Yeah, she's in the House.
How many times has she gone through people voting to put her back in office?
Too many.
It's a good question.
How the fuck is she still around? Is my question.
Well, she's in an area where there are a lot of people in Michigan who would vote for
I
her.
understand that, but not that.
They have the Muslim call to prayer.
Yeah.
Broadcast in the community.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Who else are they
I
gonna vote
understand
for?
that too, but you know, the Guineas had Mulberry Street. We didn't always vote in.
You
a
didn't
grease ball.
organize as well.
Yeah. I think the Rascal Flats sang about that.
Tell that to
She also, by the way, she hasn't
Dottie.
released a statement. She hasn't released a statement.
She doesn't speak
explaining
English.
Her no, her no vote at all. Don't you think when you're the only holdout, hey, make your stand, make it clear? I'm sure she will at some point in time. It'll make no sense. By the way, in unrelated news, Israeli Defense Forces, they estimate that Hamas dug up to 450 miles of underground tunnels in Gaza. In case people were wondering.
That's pretty amazing.
Oh.
What
That was tough work.
are you doing? What are you doing back there?
Digging a hole. I'm a digger.
Digging for what, Josh?
Oh, I just dug a little shortcut tunnel for you to the studio. You're welcome.
That's
I actually think this is like a serious compromise to the structural integrity.
Yeah.
No,
Of the foundation.
It'll be fine. Just watch your step when you get out of here, all right?
Yeah, I don't think that Josh should be. He's not qualified to be building any kind of a tunnel. Gerald.
well, he's not qualified to build anything at
Yeah.
all, and don't worry, we'll get it fixed. I'm sorry.
I mean, if I roll back like a good 8 inches, I'm gonna just this is not safe.
You know what? Give it a try. Let's see.
No, I don't want to.
Digger, please.
Meanwhile, in Maine, you know all about this. Maine.
Yes, I do actually.
How much time did you spend in Maine?
I spent 4 years, a year in solitary. College, 4 years.
Yeah. Did you ever go to Old Orchard?
Oh, yes.
Did
Old
you see all
Orchard
the dirty
Beach.
French Canadians?
Yeah, with their little Speedos on. They're 111 years old. Jesus. I threw up in my mouth 4 times.
I didn't realize that Old Orchard was like white trash central because I grew up and all my relatives in front. They're like, oh yeah, well, it's special for summer. We go to Old Orchard. Very nice. And then I found out it's like a permanent Carneyville.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They thought they were going to. I thought it was like the Four Seasons.
I sat on a lady's face from Montreal. She was going to guess my weight.
Unfortunately, she did it in kilograms.
Yeah,
so it didn't-
exactly.
Like 82. One.
82.
Aldor Chard. Very. It's a very classy, man. So that's what I thought growing up.
no.
Someone from Maine, comment below. You know, people get shot
That is
there.
a beautiful state. I got to tell you, you go up the coast. My God,
No, yeah, it definitely.
unbelievably.
It's just hard to
Underrated.
deal with the voices. So
How you doing?
that was
Pretty
a-
good.
That was a transition because in Maine, Mainewire just uncovered an interesting video from Maine State Rep. I want to make sure I get this right. Deka Dalek.
waxaan kaloo idinkula dardaarmi lahaa insha Allah haddii aynu Soomaalinahay
On audio, we Somalis living outside Somalia must always prioritize our country, Somalia.
This is not memory TV.
And think of developing our country, Somalia. This must be done especially by the Somalis abroad, such as those in the U.S. Hey, let me ask you this: At what point do you consider it treason? Are we getting close? Can you guys comment? Is that a gray area here? Someone basically circumventing or kind of subverting our government to try and improve a foreign country at the cost of Americans? Are we getting pretty close? Is it?
I think that's pretty close.
I think it's pretty close. And by the way, if you are doing your best to develop Somalia, you suck at it.
Very much.
Somalia, to give you an idea, just since 1991, 350,000 to 1 million people died due to a civil war and famines.
Thank God.
It's a hotbed of piracy. And by the way, it's the home of Al-Shabaab. That's an Islamic terror group that controls huge swaths of the country. I will say, though, that being said, she's a pretty effective pirate. This is a pretty good example of piracy.
Yes, it is.
Was she in Maine, did you say?
Yeah, Maine.
That thing is in Maine.
That's Maine.
What more evidence do you need to know that Islam's trying to take over the world? What the fuck is that doing in Maine? Seriously. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. And she's openly saying we have to look out for Somalia first. Could you imagine if you just went to Somalia and said, yeah, cool, I want to be representative here or whatever, captain of the ship.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
say, but we're gonna think about America and we're gonna take your booty and we're gonna give it to United States representatives. But it is piracy. She's gotten on board our ship
Yes.
and taken our stuff.
That's true.
Why Maine? Who dropped her off in Maine? She couldn't have done that on her own.
I don't know. I'd imagine Blackbeard.
It's
I don't know who dropped her off.
enough about her sister. Listen, oh my God, that is just. And she's dressed like she just came out of a manger. Welcome to America. Kneeling next to a lamb for the last 10 years. Stupid batch. Anyways, good relationship.
From me.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, like we said, major announcement. Tune in after Dan Bongino, or tune into Dan Bongino. It's his last show on Rumble at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then we are going to be going live around 11:30 this Friday. It's a major announcement. Tune in to Dan Bongino's last show. Show him you love him. This is going to be tomorrow. Lot is going to could be actually the potentially biggest day in the history of this show and you Mug Club, which is now Rumble Premium. We're very grateful. A lot of moving pieces, but wow, it's an exciting time.
Yep.
By the way, after one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering, it's going to be hitting movie theaters next week. And that brings us to, you know what, today there's so much to get into culturally. It's time for an entertainment minute. So, let's start with now, and then I'll give you the then as to why this has been such a disaster for Disney. So, the Snow White star Rachel Zegler, you all know how I feel. She told Vogue Mexico, which I'm kind of surprised that there's Vogue Mexico.
I didn't know that either.
Are all top 10 fashion tips ponchos? It's semi-formal.
A little bit.
So, she told Vogue Mexico. I just can't take it seriously. Vogue Mexico.
Oh my God.
I get it. I know there are some people in Mexico who have helicopters.
El Bogo.
So Vogue Mexico. She said the controversy over this film was due to passion. In case you ever wondered if there are liberal women who refuse to ever take accountability, she said, I interpret people's feelings about this film as passion for it, and what an honor to be able to be part of something that people are so passionate about. We're not always going to have the same feelings as everyone around us, meaning the entire viewing public.
Yes.
And all we can do is put our best foot forward. By that, you mean entitled and browbeating and proselytizing. It's just, I don't think that Hollywood can ever get it right. But here is Ziegler putting both of her best feet forward, like a feminist comment. What was this Academy Awards? Anyway, feminist Conor McGregor.
Who the fuck is that guy?
It's a weird walk for a weird broad, and I don't like her.
It is, and it's really mean to put her next to Gal Gadot, who's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So
it's not fair. We argued about that, but here's the thing. For those of you who have forgotten, right now, it's just, yes, this is, so people are upset and people are not looking to watch this film, Snow White, because they're passionate, and she's thrilled to be a part of something, and she's just doing her best. Well, okay, you could believe that, or you could look at the fact that she has been sabotaging this film for years at this point, in this sort of pursuit of entitlement.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming
So she's
about
gonna die.
true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights.
Ugh.
Come on,
Okay, Cheshire Cat.
go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Wow, what a scene.
I don't need your business. Thanks.
The original cartoon came out in 1937,
What a
and very
timeline.
evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Super weird.
So we
what a
didn't do
scene.
that this time.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely, when it got announced, it was a huge
You mean your guess is as
thing.
good as mine,
It was,
ethnicity?
trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry. And so it was like...
You mispronounced
very much
passionate.
this- yes. It was
The
this
people
awakening
that we need
of...
to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
Love them in the right direction.
Yeah, because there's nothing more effective than 19-year-olds educating the rest of the voting public while yelling, okay, boomer. This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job. This is the issue. These people, and this is the difference between a business owner or someone who does very well for themselves in the private sector to become wealthy. This person was born looking a certain way and has a God-given ability to lie for a living. That's really what acting is, to pretend. They didn't earn it the same way, and so it comes with this entitlement. That's the problem. So now she's saying, I just think it's because people are passionate. Also, another slew of problems. The movie went over budget, right? Went over about $250 million
before
to make the film before marketing. They had the whole dwarf midget issue where they decided they weren't going to have any midget actors, right? They were having DEI-inspired magical creatures to replace the dwarves. Then you had that Peter Dinklage complained about it, right? He whined on a podcast, and he's like the most famous, successful dwarf ever.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be if he was not a dwarf, saying, it makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave together. Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. Well, it's hard. We can't hear you. You're down there low. The sound doesn't travel.
You're an angry elf.
He needs 2 soapboxes.
Yeah. And then Disney said, okay, look, we'll split the difference. Some of you want us to hire actual dwarf humans. And then we thought we would have CGI magical creatures. How about this? We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarves. So we'll guarantee no employment for little people while getting rid of this other component that warranted CGI. It was the worst decision they could possibly make. They tried to do a bunch of different versions, including one where Snow White was a lesbian, one where she didn't need a man and she goes off like a Harold and Maude type thing. Even one, a new version called Snow White Ate the 7 Dwarves, because they wanted to capture that.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Ziegler herself. That was all just a way to get to Photoshop. She complained about the original plot. She was siding with the Free Palestine protesters. Dear God, I've never wanted someone to simply be here on a green card more. She trashed Trump voters nonstop.
We actually have one of her posts really quickly. About
do we have this?
Yeah.
All right.
It's here. Just do this.
She hopes Trump supporters find no peace, I think was one of the highlights of this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long post, boys.
Yeah. They won't if they go to the multiplex this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Another 4 years of hatred. How do I deal with this?
Yeah. But those people are the people who elect presidents and people who go and pay for the ticket sales. Look, you can have a different opinion. This is about telling you that you are a worse human being for disagreeing. They can't hate you and want your money at the same time. It is an exploitative, abusive America's relationship with Hollywood has been an abusive relationship.
For a long time.
That's what it is.
People think it just started when Trump... This has been going on forever. Last 60 years. And isn't this appropriation when you take something like Snow White?
Yeah.
Let's redo the Cosby Show with a bunch of albino fucks. I mean, seriously, I'm sick of... They take Elton John songs and they butcher them.
Yeah. It's YouTube dump. Keep it on Rumble. Now,
yes, please.
This is also the issue too. Is it doesn't work. Here's the thing: it doesn't work. Like Nick just said, it's been going on for a long time. Now, in the era of social media, these people expose themselves, and you're seeing that they don't have the influence they thought they did. There's a very big difference between having a follower or a 2-second scan view on X or Facebook and actually having people who care about your perspective, who value your input and are willing to follow. These people do not have that. They don't. The house of cards is tumbling down. And now the premieres are being scaled back. For Disney. They completely scrapped the UK premiere. In Los Angeles, there's going to be no media on the red carpet. They're afraid that they're going to be asking about the Israel-Palestine conflict. Isn't it funny that at the same time, legacy media complains with investigative journalists and online journalists being allowed into the press pool, they're now shutting out all media. Yeah. You're seeing this from the left. It's all about trying to control the message because they know that it's been rejected. Disney right now, they're relying on influencers. Very, very limited talk show appearances to promote the film.
Oh, man.
One source told The Hollywood Reporter they've been going through the motions on Snow White, all but saying, we need to get this thing over with.
And all because of the actress you chose.
Yeah.
Disney.
And you know what? You voting with your dollar helps. I can tell you, voting with your dollar, for example, Mug Club, and you can click that button if you want to join Rumble Premium, $99 a year, $9.99 a month. You can try it. If you don't like it, don't stay, okay? But we're supported by viewers like you. It helps in that regard. But long-term boycotting, not a temporary boycott of a day, it makes a difference. It changes the cultural landscape where these giant corporations, they don't have the flexibility that people online do. They have to adapt to what they view as American mainstream. They need to know that you are American mainstream. Disney's starting to realize it. It just comes down to whether they want to be a profitable company or propagandists. And I don't know the answer yet. I do know they have $45 billion in debt.
Oof.
They are struggling. Their theme park attendance is down. Their subscribership is down 700,000 since October 2024. Oof. They only have, they don't have anywhere near, I know their cash is down on hand by $8.6 billion, considering their debt of $45 billion. This film would need to make over $400 million to break even. It won't. I guarantee you it will not.
They're going to try.
It's the latest in a laundry list of problems for Disney. And we're going to get to, this also segues into the Michelle Obama podcast, the Anthony Mackie podcast, Gavin Newsom. The landscape has shifted so much. You see on election night, this was the most watched place on earth. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You could have chosen anywhere. When you put Disney, or when you put Michelle Obama, or when you put Captain America Light, or Captain America Dark, when you put them on the same playing field as everyone else online, they lose. They lose. And that's why you have big tech places like YouTube, Google, once upon a time, of course, Facebook, of course, TikTok, or Apple, Spotify, not X so much anymore. That's why you see them putting their thumb on the scales of the algorithm, because they know that these people are not interesting and you don't want to hear from them. And so they try and game the system. Disney is trying to game the system. They've had these problems for a very long time. They've been woke. They've been thrusting this in front of you, shoveling it down your throat. And like Nick said, it's nothing new. You remember The Jungle Book when you look back? It was awful messaging. It was basically grooming, and we didn't even realize. Here's the clip of the original cartoon Jungle Book.
So just try and relax. Yeah, cool it. Fall apart in my backyard. Because let me tell you something, little britches. If you act like that bee acts, you're working too hard.
Don't work. What? Don't go back to your family. Don't wear pants. And we talked about this. For those of you who are Rumble Premium members, you've already seen this, but we talked about this. And I think that we need to show the entire world.
Yeah.
It's actually worse than that. I know you've seen the more recent live-action Jungle Book, but they had done screen tests that were more faithful to the original. The original live-action Jungle Book was far worse.
Boy, I'm sure glad we're spending so much time together.
Oh, of course, kid. Stick with me and I'll never steer you wrong.
Sure gets lonely out here.
Not a parent around for miles.
What?
Tiger! Not a tiger around for miles.
But how do I become a man?
Oh, kid, it's easy. Just
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities. Just rest your little head on me. Pretty soon you will feel very nice.
Wait, what?
problem?
I don't know. Something doesn't seem quite right.
Oh, no, that's just societal conditioning. You have to forget all that. Let me show you the bare way.
Look for the bare necessities. Listen to my recipe. Forget about your home and prior life. I mean the bare necessities. Let me use my extremities. Pretend just for a moment you're my wife.
Wait, what?
Problem?
Wife?
Oh, that's just playing pretend, Mowgli. It's fun. It's the bear way.
Wherever we wander, wherever we roam, it'll be much farther, far away from home. My body's buzzing hot for thee. I'll teach you about the birds and bees. When we're under the stars, romance and take a glance. We'll dance no pants and maybe try this wig on.
Nope.
I see I've crossed a line.
We should have seen it. We should have seen it all along.
Yes. Those perverts.
Yeah.
How dare they make that?
Yeah. You have days where you feel really bad about yourself?
A little bit.
So let me ask you this.
Is this one of them?
Do you think?
No, Nick.
What do you think of Disney's live action adaptations? You fond of Aladdin, with Will Smith as a rapping genie? That one was fun.
Appropriation.
How did that one perform?
Yeah, I don't think it did very well. The Beauty and the Beast. This is a true story. I'll give you some inside baseball. Bill Maher, he has a screener, to do his show, and I don't think you've ever done his show. Big surprise. Bill Maher likes to have people who are really easy to tee off on. So his booker for the show reached out and was putting me through the process. Now, granted, I'm no Bill Crystal, or David French, so I would have no reason to be on the show. I'm not at that level. But they asked me like, "Hey, what would you like to talk about?" And this was when the hashtag Oscars So White was going on. I said, "Well, I just find it." I don't know. Right now, the number one trend is Oscars So White, and I just saw Beauty and the Beast, where Mary J. Blige in 1740s slavery France gets to turn into a bookcase while she's a queen. She said, so you want to talk about Disney? What about Russia? I was like, well, what about Russia? Is there something that you know that I don't? And of course, I was never on the show. That's one thing. It doesn't work. You talk about the appropriate. I get it. Matt Damon as Genghis Khan, that's a problem. But we're going to act like people in that era would be anything other than slaves. Disney, come on, pick a lane.
They're kind of running some of these big names too. I mean, it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, like one of the most ubiquitous stories out there, and you're going to take it and ruin it?
That's intentional.
Yeah, I don't think they're ruining it on purpose. I think they think no, I don't think they're ruining it on purpose.
Well, you're a priest.
You're
wrong.
Hold on, no, I think
you're wrong.
So they're trying to lose money.
No,
hold on. Look, they're trying to go out of business, guys.
They will take. Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, I've made this point before on this show. When you put that much money into something and not expect it to make money, that is propaganda. Like ESPN, they destroyed that brand. Completely, unless you want to watch a housewife and a Chinese
Disney's
lady.
Disney's not in the propaganda business.
Can I finish my thing there, Father?
I'm not being very Christian with your interrupting.
That was a comma? You got to tell me these things.
In back of him,
oh my
Satan,
God,
go.
you sound like me when I'm fighting with my wife. She's like, I was about to say that.
Yeah, but at least she's kept her trim figure.
Yes, she has. That right hand will do that. Listen, Steph, right? Bang! My point was before Imbecile interrupted. Yeah, they don't care. Like they blew up ESPN. All right, it's a money losing proposition. Yet they're still going with it. So I take that as it's propaganda. We're not looking to make a profit on this.
Exactly. They're willing. They're going. If we would rather break even and make some money and push this agenda long term than make films that generate the most
then
money.
they're going to have to change.
Gerald, how do you get to $45 billion in debt?
I think it's worse. I think they think people will actually like the direction that they're going.
Nope.
Not anymore.
They're trying to wedge. They're trying to force people. They're trying to engineer people. Comment below what you think. They're trying to engineer people into liking it, even though they know.
True.
Can we talk about it, Noodles? I don't know if because Noodles, you were in the machine. You worked for the Beast, right?
I worked for ESPN for just shy of a decade.
Yeah.
So I watched this go from ESPN being sports, being kind of guy centric, something that was what it turned into, and I watched it turn like year after year and get worse and worse. And the Snow White thing has been going on for years. Yeah, it's just one piece of it,
and that's a big reason.
But
that
here's
left.
the difference.
Then jumped right back into it.
Sorry.
Here's what's changed.
Baloo.
The only thing that's changed recently, the whole Trump effect on this country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's going to get even more severe for them, I would think. That would be a true litmus test if they continue to stay the course with Trump in office.
You know what I think it is with President Trump? Think about this. You had George W. Bush, you had Mitt Romney, you had John McCain. I think the real reason that they have the Trump derangement syndrome is because for the first time, there's a president, or even, by the way, a nominee who far more accurately represents the American voter. In other words, George W. Bush, kind of a rhino, when they see Donald Trump, like, oh, wait, these are the people we really have to fight back now because we need to make sure they don't think that it's mainstream. And we can't. The country has platformed Trump, and that means they've platformed you. That's the big difference. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah. We'll see if they make any corrections to it or not. But I think they thought people would go along with this better. And
maybe.
They want it. For sure, there's an agenda. We know that. We've heard the executives talk. For sure, they're trying to get people to go that direction. I don't argue that at all. Yeah. But they also are in the business of making money. They have shareholders to be responsible to. They thought they would make money on this crap.
One thing I was
I think you might be right. And that might be the last, but I think this might be it.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If it's not, it's solid evidence that they don't care.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is there's actually documented proof of them saying like the
That's
fandoms.
a tough word to find in your repertoire, isn't it, Noodles?
The franchises that they took over, things like Star Wars, Marvel, things like that. They've said the fandom is the problem.
Yes,
so
exactly.
that's exactly.
Well,
it.
I don't
They are
disagree
trying
with
to.
them on Star Wars. Star Wars fans are sometimes
Well,
the worst.
remember the black woman? I think she worked at Disney. She said, we gated up.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
We gated up. She was laughing about it.
But, and they're losing money left and right on it now, but they don't have the support culturally that they had, to Stephen's point.
They
That's
didn't
shifting.
but they do have a lot of financial backing and influential backing. And here's the thing. They have Hollywood, DC, right media. All of that has been 90%, by all the statistics we have available to us, left. And we're going to get to these podcasts in a second. Michelle Obama, Gavin Newsom with a podcast. And it's not going to work anymore. That's why they're trying to shut us out. That's why. Do you know that 98% of our viewership traffic on YouTube is from you bookmarking, checking? We don't show up in search. We don't show up in browse. Suggested. We can reach no new people. We can run no ads. It's basically TV guide viewing. They do that and they still lose. Imagine what it would look like if it was a fair playing field. Right. And by the way, the best way to stay in touch, download the Rumble app.
Yeah.
Download the app and follow me on Rumble. We send out notifications, meaning the Rumble app, when we're live. That's it. Rumble, we own live. We've got to get back to live. We've got to get back to an actual community where people can sit down and watch and share something together as opposed to 30-second scrolling, because that's what they're banking on. They're banking on you having a shorter attention span and being dumber, because the longer the left talks, the less credible they are. Let's go to this money laundering scheme. I mean, podcast for all of these.
It's a fair point.
I mean it. I think this whole thing is a. Remember how the Clintons would get $250,000 to speak in front of Goldman Sachs, right? That's just a way to buy influence. It's the same thing with these podcasts now. If you look at Michelle Obama, we're going to get to this in a second. They have these sponsors and they only have a few thousand plays. Right, a sponsor can pay, I don't know, 100,000. They can pay whatever.
They probably
and if
pay
someone's,
a lot.
Yeah, if someone's running an audit, they'll go, but that's not actually standard for this amount of viewers. They go, but we want to be associated with the Obamas. That's another way these people build up their massive wealth. It's not just insider trading, but the revenue and the influence and the coverage that you are seeing from these podcasts. Every single actor, every single producer, every single politician has a podcast these days. The influence doesn't match the views. The views are largely fraudulent. That's also why we say head on over to Rumble, because if nothing else, the views are real and the live viewers are real. Rumble is real. A lot of this is a parlor trick. So if you didn't know this, Michelle Obama, her brother, Craig Robinson, started a new podcast this week. It's called IMO. And sorry, that's the wrong podcast, but it's an easy mistake. Easy mistake to make. Here's actually, I believe, the trailer for the podcast.
I am Michelle.
And I am Craig.
And Craig here is my big brother. He's done a lot of everything in life: business, coaching, basketball, television. He's always been one of the very few people I can turn to whenever I need just about anything.
And you all know my sister Michelle, or Mish as our family has always called her.
Do they?
We are so excited for you to listen to our brand new podcast. It's called IMO with Michelle Obama.
Wait. Hold on a second. Why is she dressed like she should be digging on the railway like Cool Hand Luke? What is this? Look.
Obviously, she's in jail.
What this podcast here has is a failure to communicate
to anyone.
So,
we'll get to that.
Debut episode. Astounding 41,000 plays. No word on the reception on Rumble yet. Here are some. Were you about to say something?
I'm just saying, you're right. That's the impetus for it, kind of money laundering.
That's what
also, they looked at the Joe Rogans and the Adam Carollas and said, hey, we don't do this. We got to get into this.
Yeah, I know.
That was part of it.
That's what they do.
I think.
But you'll look.
But it's not going to work.
It's not going to work, but they'll get a ton of money for it.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Right. Rich people.
Yeah. We actually have a list of the sponsors of the show. And again, it makes no sense. So 41,000 plays.
Yeah.
On the premiere episode. Usually you actually have a grace episode. Your first episode, there's that curiosity. So they'll have to chase the clicks and they'll have to have some controversial guests. But outside of that, the numbers will consistently most likely do this. Here are some highlights from the opening episode with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson.
I was a bond trader, salesperson in investment banking.
Pause. He looks like Pinot Noir from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Yeah.
Wow.
That's who I thought he was.
Why does he get lipstick on?
Another gay black guy. I'm just joking. He has a kid straight as an arrow. Let's go back to the clip of the episode.
I was a bond trader, salesperson in investment banking and finance and big time job, really good living. And I was contemplating
suicide.
Stopping that to go be an assistant coach on a basketball team.
Is basically saying, I'm going to go from being a millionaire to working for nothing.
So you're a good person. We get it.
Our overall MO, both you and me.
And I would get ready early.
Really? Oh, that's your MO? But instead you decided to start banging a junior senator about whom we knew nothing and became president. So I guess you went a different direction. Let's continue with the propaganda.
keep him company.
Well, Barack, he had to adjust to what on time was for me.
Because he was on that island time.
Well, but, I've got
Translation,
this
black
husband
people
who's
are late.
When it's time to leave,
Island
it's 3
time.
o'clock, he's getting up and going to the bathroom.
What, Alcatraz?
I was like, dude, like 3 o'clock departure means you've done all that. Just get me out of here. I'm standing with my father.
Oh, yeah, prison joke.
Telling these stupid jokes, next to a turkey. So by the time we got to the last turkey pardoning, they were done. They were just like, I'm out. I'm not going.
Okay, so we get it. The kids would rather be doing something. You can't always be smoking weed at Coachella. So at least, and here's where we get to, I believe it's money. In my opinion is if you are a current politician, if you're a president, if you're a senator, if you're a governor, you should not be allowed to have sponsorships on a podcast or host people who are seeking elected office.
Why?
It's a problem.
Why?
I'm telling you exactly why. Because people can use it to funnel money to you.
They do.
There's
They do.
arbitrary.
They have ways to do that already. Why?
Also, they can then curry favor as far as policy. It opens you up to all kinds of insider trading. For crying out loud, we
already do everything you just
Great,
said.
so make it worse, the reverse nirvana
No.
fallacy. Also, how many politicians reach out to us and go like, hey, if you have us on, we'll do X, Y, Z. That's why we have very, very few of them on. Very, very few of them on. If you are a governor and you have a leg up, where, by the way, you can also get a bunch of funding from either NGOs or these nonprofits that prop up this podcast, you can then put your hands on the scales as far as the next election for a senator, the next election for a representative of the House.
They already
fine. All right, Gerald.
No, what I'm saying is,
let governors have podcasts and make millions of dollars in fraudulent advertising and guarantee that they'll maintain their position.
Nice straw manning of my position, but what I was going to say is actually make it public. So I agree with you that this is rife for corruption. Fine, we're on the same page there. Make all of what they get paid from sponsors public. Make all of the associations with any guests public. Because you're saying that they could bring a guest on and tip the scales. They could do that anyway. They could associate with. They could go on somebody else's podcast with this guy and prop him.
I don't think they should be in broadcast. I think if you're going to be a public servant, you should be giving up that other aspect of your life to serve the public.
I like them being able to talk directly to the public.
They should. You can talk with someone. You can talk to the audience. You can go on, talk by yourself, or answer questions from your voters. Going on there and bumping elbows with other politicians, with other celebrity influencers, and collecting.
Every time he talks, I love it.
A podcast isn't much different than a radio show, and we know how liberal radio shows have gone in the past.
Well, that's fair.
Well, that's fair. And again, because it's alternative media. They've had a stranglehold on media. But here's the thing. No views, no interest, no fans, but that doesn't change the fact that the sponsorships are top tier.
This episode is brought to you by Rivian and Pine Sol.
This episode of IMO is brought to you by Cologuard, a non-invasive colon cancer screening test. The Cologuard test is a one-of-a-kind way to feel more in control of your colon cancer screening.
Oh, I thought he said Cologuard.
Prescription-based test with none of the prep that's required of a colonoscopy.
That didn't work.
This episode of IMO is sponsored by Chase Home Lending, committed to supporting you all the way home with smart digital home buying tools and resources.
Why is he dressed like Dr. Zayas?
See that, by the way? Chase, Chase, the place that debanked wrong thinkers. Oh, exactly, great. Yeah, of course they want to bump elbows, and God knows how much they paid for a podcast that has 40,000 views.
I bet it was insanely priced.
That's bad, right?
Yeah, and you want to know how you know it's propaganda? Remember Diageo? They control 80% of the world's advertising. They told Rumble that unless Rumble removed our show, they would never
From
advertise.
The platform, even though they didn't have to advertise on our show.
Even though they know that views are real on Rumble.
Yeah.
It's like magazines for a long time as they were dying. They were just buying up subscriptions from each other so that they could sell magazine ads. I'm telling you, this whole thing is a Ponzi scheme. It's a money laundering scheme. It's going to come out. Mark my words. Market for a Crowder called it. Somewhere in the next 10 years, we are going to find out about the corruption and money laundering, funneling, washing that you see in podcasts with celebrities and politicians. But enough about
You think it's going to be around 10 years from now? Are you high?
The industry will, not these people.
No,
Radio Free America.
Yeah.
Come on, it did great.
They're going to collect a bunch of money and pass. Let's go to Gavin Newsom. So, he's the governor of California, in case you've forgotten. Now he has...
Also a podcaster.
Yeah, he does. He has enough spare time, apparently, when he's not paying for bronze busts of himself.
It's true.
Exactly.
So according to the podcast description, it's time to have honest discussions with people that agree and disagree with us. It's time to answer the hard questions and be open to criticism and debate without demeaning or dehumanizing one other. Does he say, did he write one other or one another? I don't know. I could be a typo here. So here's something. You just said the key word in there is honest. Honest.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have a rapid fire fact check for you because this one is, whoa. It's one that is so bad, the claims that he makes, especially when you take into account the description that he added with more false claims. I woke up and I asked myself, did I dream that? Did I dream that? He didn't actually say that, did he? No, he actually did. Gavin Newsom claimed with, I believe, Mike Savage on the show that Florida taxes are actually overall low, are overall higher than California. He was saying, actually, California, we actually have lower taxes on middle-class Californians. And actually, the quality of life and cost of living is better in California. Well, you know what? Don't take my word for it. Here he is actually saying this with a straight face.
We have the highest tax rate, but not the highest taxes in America.
Who has a higher state tax?
Tax rate. The vast majority of people are not you. They're not the 1%, which means 99% of other people
So
pay
I'm
different
subsidizing
taxes.
them.
No, but at the end, well, we'll get to that. But the bottom line, places like you use Florida, they tax their low-wage workers more than we tax our high-wage
Gavin,
workers.
I shouldn't be punished for succeeding.
And he posted it on X where he talked about, I don't know if you have this, he talked about more expensive energy costs in Florida.
Excuse me, who was that? Was that
Savage,
right?
Savage, yeah.
So there's his post.
Higher taxes on poorest families, he says. Higher energy bills, meaning Florida. Higher car insurance bills. Lower wages. Higher uninsured rates. So he adds all of that on top of that claim that actually people pay far more taxes in Florida. Okay, let me go through this because I know you're thinking he must be basing it on some truth. He's not. Income tax. Florida, none. California, their top rate, 13.5%, 13.3%. Sales tax. So you might think, okay, maybe there's no income tax. Right. But I bet you the sales tax. Okay, Florida, the average, 6.9%. California, 8.8%. Ooh. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, property tax. That's the one where there's a slight in Florida, it's 0.79 on average. In California, it's 0.71. But again, if you look at the average home price, it's almost twice the amount. Florida, 433,000. California, 869,000, which also means that low-wage workers are far less likely to ever own a home. He tweeted out higher energy bills. This is another one. This is the lie. Again, you have to believe that he's either really, really stupid or you understand that he's lying to you. In Florida, there are obviously greater heating bills, right? It's very temperate in California. A lot of people don't even have air conditioning in California if they live close enough to the water and you're, let's say, in San Diego. In Florida, it's humid. It's mucky. Let's look at the cents per kilowatt hour. Florida, it's 14.2. Yeah, there we go. I'm reading this here. California, more than double. 30.55.
Well, hold on. Lower wage workers don't pay for electricity or things like sales tax, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's not going to hit them.
So higher sales tax,
shoplift,
income tax,
yeah.
higher energy costs, and then of course you also have gas prices. Florida averages about $3. California averages closer to $5. $4.67.
Jeez.
He talked about car insurance. The only difference, okay, Florida, it's about $4,000. California, it's $3,000. But you have hurricanes in Florida. You have plus you also have old people.
Old Jew drivers.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, fine. You got us on car insurance.
Yeah,
you really
exactly.
wanna hang your hat on that one?
Yeah. It's actually what's funny is he said uninsured. I don't know what he means. The rate of uninsured drivers in Florida is about 15.9%. In California, it's 17%, so it is higher.
Maybe he meant like health insurance?
Maybe he did. I don't know. The bottom line is there is no case to be made that California taxes its people less than Florida. Now, I'm giving you all those numbers, but really there's only one that matters. Net loss of population in California, net gain in Florida. Okay, so what people are living, this is why the left can't sustain itself and they have to switch their messaging. Because it doesn't track with reality. And at a certain point, when your entire state says, yeah, this isn't working, and you're looking at a net loss versus a net gain of hundreds of thousands of people, it's no longer anecdotal.
And businesses, too.
And businesses, of course.
Huge.
Yeah.
Not to mention, by the way, things like COVID death rates. Florida had 34.4 per 100,000 people. And in California, somehow, even though Florida is the oldest place on earth, in California it was 37.8. How do you have more people die in California than Florida? Florida is death's waiting room.
Yeah, because you have people coming over from countries where they haven't even cured dandruff. That's why. You know?
They're saying the Somalis don't have Selsun Blue?
That's exactly right.
Never wear black without the blue.
Never be black without the blue.
And then here's another one, and I just wish that people held this guy more accountable because he's charming and he gets away with that. He was speaking with Charlie Kirk. And I was hoping he would be pressed on the COVID deaths and on the COVID lockdowns for schools. He threw out a compliment and then they moved on.
Literally last night, trying to put my son to bed. He's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. Once one.
The point is,
but now watch.
Which is, you are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding. I appreciate that. I mean, it's the reason you're here.
No, Charlie Kirk does that, but I would be like, oh, thank you for the compliment. But seriously, why did you destroy children's schooling for years to come? An entire generation? I'm not kidding.
Not kidding at all. It was a great point. We were like, oh, Charlie Kirk goes in. Yes, good.
My son likes you.
No,
it's okay.
No. So I'm just kidding. Like me.
I just, and this guy is going to hand pick the people he sits down and talks with. He doesn't want anything to do with people like, anyway. Let's go on to another podcast, unless anyone has more to add there, Gavin Newsom. That's going to be a cornucopia of material for us. Oh. Anthony Mackie. Don't say who. He's the new Captain America, but you don't care. So he had some, viral moments on the Pivot podcast. Now, let me just say something here. I like what he said in this first clip, where he discusses masculinity. It doesn't really surprise me when you understand in the black community in America, they actually appreciate traditional gender roles far more. They haven't been guilted into hating them yet. But then, of course, he can't help himself from corroding Western values in his discussions about success. First, here's the good. Mackie's take on masculinity.
In the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open a door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always
beat them in an elevator.
And that's always since they were 2 years old.
Oh, he's the one that raises boys like that.
15-year-old, you're the man of the house. Yeah. You make sure these doors are locked every night. This alarm is on. You text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men.
I love it.
If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world, jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. So for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
Yeah, I agree with everything he just said. And you know what? If we could get back to that. Now, I have no idea if he practices all of it or everyone on that panel, but I agree with that. He left out the little tidbit as they will always say yes or sir, because if they don't, mom beats the shit out of them. Have you ever seen that in public where a kid's like, and then mom, what? And smacks him, whereas a white mom will be like, hey, excuse me, you really, I think that you need to be more respectful. Like, screw you, mom, go to hell. Like, well, I hear that you're not feeling very heard right now. Well, I think a smack, works.
I am with you on that.
So I agree with that. I agree with everything that he just said. But now he can't help but, after DEIing his way into Captain America and saying that he didn't really think Captain America was about America or something, he just can't help himself from going full leftist on the idea of merit and success.
We're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that and this is fresh on my heart. Like, I literally just came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right and they make the good grades and they go to the programs and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned. Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all. There were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster.
Nope.
But somebody said, you.
Not true.
You're the one.
Maybe for actors.
And the other 50 behind you fell off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And because of that, I don't know what that emotion or that feeling is the scary thing. Because I went to all the programs. I've done Broadway. I've done off-Broadway. I've been in the business 24 years. I've been in 2 Academy Award films. I've done independent films.
You're arguing against yourself,
major motion
stupid.
pictures. Now I'm Captain America. So now what?
Yeah, here's the thing. Not only Is he incorrect? Outside of, like I've said, the exception is actors. Kind of like there's no rape culture in the United States. The exception is Hollywood and maybe DC. No, in the United States, it's merit-based. The exception is Hollywood. There are very few other jobs in which the primary qualification is your facial structure and you have no ability to change it, right? It's basically a birthright. The success in Hollywood for a lot of people, sure, there's some talent, sure, there's working, but a lot of it is luck. It's not the same thing in starting an oil rig. It's not the same thing in learning a trade. It's not the same thing in starting a franchise business in the middle of Oklahoma. It is not. But he just told an entire generation of kids, hey, doesn't matter what you do, you have no control over your own destiny, which not only is morally reprehensible, but I understand because he has to be a professional victim considering he's a multimillionaire for something he hasn't earned. It's also the exact opposite of what he just said regarding success 1 month ago.
It means everything. I mean, look, my grandfather was a sharecropper. My dad was a roofer, and I'm Captain America. Benjamin E. Mays said, we study agriculture so that our kids can study math and science, so that our grandkids can study the arts. That's the American dream.
So it sounds like you're saying work really hard so you can help your kids have a better life. But why? Considering that success is not earned, none of that matters, right? It's whether some wealthy white guy picks you or not. No, it's not about how fast you throw a ball. It's not about your hitting average. It's about someone choosing you for success. That may be the case, Mr. First Black Captain America. That may be the case that someone picked you because they wanted to socially engineer. It may be the case that you fill a quota, but it's not the case across the rest of this country, and that's why the voting patterns are so different in Hollywood and DC, in media, and the rest of the country.
This is probably, if not the most, it is absolutely right there in the top 1 or 2 most corrosive things that you can tell, especially the black community right now. Doesn't matter how hard you work. Doesn't matter if you put the effort in and go to the classes and do all these things. If you don't get picked, you're not going to be successful. One, define what success is, because you can get ahead by working hard. Some people may have more talent than you. Some people may have better lucky breaks than you. I get it. Some people may catch a coach's eye. Sometimes that turns out to be a real bad thing, by the way, if you're in middle school and your coach has a big, glass window in the basketball locker room like mine did. Yeah. But you can catch a coach's eye in a good way as well and get a scholarship somewhere and not have to earn it. That is the worst thing that you can possibly tell the black community, is that success is not earned. You're not lying to people. And by the way, the examples that you used, football, we put people accused of murder on the field because they're the fastest people and the hardest hitters. Ray Rice punched his wife and tried to get back on. We had Michael Vick, who did dog fighting, got another chance because he was so talented and good. Are you sitting there in a room of football players saying there were people that were faster than you and could hit harder? And they're like, no, there wasn't.
No, there wasn't.
No, I was one of the best. And guess what? The minute that I wasn't one of the best, they went out and got the best. And I became a former NFL football player.
Yeah.
And they have a ton of examples.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Tiger Woods didn't work hard. Or even LeBron James, who I hate.
Yeah.
You know what? The guy worked his ass off.
He also is a great chemist.
But I mean, that is the most insane statement. Like you said, so corrosive.
Yeah. No, I get. And by the way, let me show you in real time. And usually we do chat Thursday today, but we're going to do a Hardly Legal with Bill Richmond because we do have a big announcement. We'll be taking chats tomorrow, so we're going to continue this. But I'll tell you, there are real world consequences to this.
Yeah.
And you have an entire generation of largely young black Americans. You have the flip side with white people where they think, hey, maybe I didn't deserve this. They work really, really hard, earn their keep, and then think, yeah, but it must just be privilege. Then you have a lot of young black Americans who, because of DEI, who because of affirmative action, will never truly believe in themselves again. That is what Mackey is saying with that message. Don't believe in yourself because there's nothing you can do. And here's one woman, one young lady, who bought it. I remember this.
You should be able to go to any college.
Right.
It's just, I don't know.
Did you work hard?
Oh, yes, sir, I did.
And you wanted to go to UT?
Yes, sir, I did.
That makes me happy. That's what I want to see.
It's just...
And I don't want to see it because you go here because you're black.
Yeah.
I want you to know that it's because you worked hard. And to me, that's a racism of soft expectations. You know, imagine if you're a black student who didn't score so well, right? Had a lower SAT score, didn't score so well, and you know that you're in the university as a diversity applicant. That's self-doubt, and that's what I'm saying. I don't want you to have it. To me, it seems so sad to have for the rest of your life to go, man, did I really deserve this spot? And she didn't know.
Yeah.
She wasn't able to answer if she did. You guys think that's a good thing? We used to want public figures to be inspiring, if nothing else. Not dishonest, but in this case, he's uninspiring and inaccurate. That's the worst combination humanly possible. Tell you what's a good combination: the fabrics that we use.
Ooh, yeah, only the best.
And the logos that you see at CrowderShop.com. Support and style. I guess we have a hat. Do we have a hat?
We're doing a hat? Oh, there we go. Strange animal hat.
Okay, all right. Let's see if I can. Will it frisbee?
Yeah.
Sorry. I almost decapitated Noodles.
Wow.
All right.
What is that? Odd Job? No, he throws a shoe, not a hat. Who does a hat?
No, Odd Job was the hat. The parody was the shoe.
Was the shoe. Sorry.
Yeah.
I watched more Austin Powers than I did Bond.
A lot of legal questions, by the way, this week. And we don't really have the ability to address these every day. Also, I'm not a lawyer, and frankly, I would get it wrong. So that brings us to the second edition, by popular demand, of with my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, Hardly Legal. All right. And by the way, Hardly_legal on YouTube and Kim Jong Bill on Instagram. This is you have this as an actual podcast where you answer people's legal questions, right?
Yeah. People call in all the time. Real Americans, Real Issues. They're anonymous. We help them. We got comedians on as well. So laugh along the way.
Can they sue you if you give them legal advice and they lose?
We're not giving them legal advice.
Oh, okay, good.
But we're giving them some guidance.
Okay.
And then we get them to lawyers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can they sue?
Anyone can sue anyone.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you make fun of them?
We sometimes have to make fun of them.
Yeah.
Most of the time people call in with their own side of the story, but like they're such a shitbag, like you can't help but call them out.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to.
Isn't your real last name Sue?
We do have one here actually yesterday, and I want to get your opinion on this. A street, not really even protest, a street speaker was in the middle of a brouhaha. It went horribly wrong. Now there are some questions as to how this happened. I'm curious to get your take.
But you need to try less being like somebody you're not and start to humble yourself and be somebody that God made you to be. He didn't make a man to be a woman. He made the man to be a man. He didn't make the woman to be a man. He made the woman to be a woman. And this is the truth. What are you going to do? Come attack me now?
I should.